Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment of the weekend show. The topic today is the xenophobic attacks, the increased xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in diaspora. Today, joining us to discuss this issue, we have
with us in the studio Pius Akutah. He is a lawyer, also with the Federal Ministry of Justice. Welcome to the weekend show. We also have with us in the studio Emmanuel Ogbeche. He's the chairman of Counsel, NUJ, Nigerian Union of Journalists, FCT. Welcome to the weekend show.
Thank you for having me here.
It's also my pleasure to welcome Hon Abdulrazak Namdas, representing Jada Mayo Federal Constituency from Adamawa State in the National Assembly. Welcome to the weekend show.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
I'll start with you, Honorable.
Yeah.
How would you assess the present administration's reaction to the increased xenophobic attacks against our citizens abroad?
Well, I think it is quite apt that they reacted by probably trying to recall the High Commissioner from South Africa and condemning the actions, trying to evacuate our Nigerians that are trapped in South Africa. Of course, these are good issues, but we would have also liked this thing to, for example, if you repatriate people from South Africa, they should be also sure of what are the plans when they come to Nigeria. Apart from that, my speaker, Femi Bajamila, made a very good statement that we wouldn't mind to fund people that are going to take legal actions. And for you to take legal actions, we expect that Nigeria should not be rushed back, particularly those who, in my opinion, have lost a lot of property. They need to document what they've actually lost so that when you are going to court, you go with evidence. If you rush to come back, it's very possible that by the time you go to court and you are trying to seek legal redress, you may not have some of the concrete evidences that are around you. So I think we should bite harder. It's important that Nigerians, South Africans should know that we are angry. I am a member of Pan-African Parliament in the 8th Assembly, meaning all parliamentarians in Africa, in the 54 countries on the continent. We always deliberate in South Africa. And that is a Pan-African affair. But if we have parliamentarians all over Africa will be in South Africa deliberating, and yet South Africans say we don't need foreigners. In my opinion, it's very bad that we could even think of relocating the Pan-African Parliament to other countries, and we could see that we have to take decisive action against South Africa because it is getting out of hand.
It's good that the National Assembly is being this vocal about the issue, but some people have said there's also the semblance of Nigerians almost asking for warfare, for lack of better words, in the sense that you must do this, you must take over all South African businesses in Nigeria. But Emmanuel, as a journalist, a huge chunk of what we've been seeing on social media and in the media is fake news. We've seen images of people jumping out of buildings from India. There was a video with people jumping out of a two-story building from India, I think from 2007 or 2017. And those are the things which have fueled the rage. And so you saw the attacks in Lagos just a couple of days ago. What is the Nigerian Union of Journalists doing to ensure that we have fair and accurate reporting when we talk about these issues?
It's not just about fake news. In the absence of credible information, and given the level of violence that has been meted out to Nigerians, people seek for avenues to want to validate what has happened, and that is what is fueling fake news. What is the NUJ doing? The NUJ is limited in the sense that we do not entirely control what is put out in the social media. And because there is no legislation as to what private citizens should put out, you can only appeal. And thankfully, all the major networks and newspapers have not yielded to the issue of fake news. you know, by playing up these videos. But that does not underscore the fact that serious violence has been meted out against Nigerians in South Africa. You know, there are clear instances where some visuals are true. We saw a car mat that went up in flames, owned by a Nigerian. And in such instance, what do you say? I think the government needs to also invest in the media so as to enable us have the opportunity to interrogate the fact on ground. But it's also dangerous for journalists in South Africa if you're a foreigner, and especially a black. Honorable was talking about asking foreigners to leave. I think essentially it is black Africans, South Africans are asking to leave. They are not asking the Asians, they are not asking the Chinese, they are not asking
Indians.
the British, they are not asking Indians, who are majorly the drivers of the economy.
So Emmanuel, I wonder, what is the solution? That's why I want to bring you in here, Mr. Pius. Honorable mentioned earlier that we need to seek legal redress.
Yes.
It's not okay just to bring back our citizens and say, okay, you're home safe now. But people have to pay for their actions. You work in the office of the Attorney General of the Federation. What are we doing currently as a nation in solving this issue, in seeking redress for the actions perpetrated on our citizens?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that I came in here as a spirited Nigerian to join in the discourse about this burning issue of xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and other black Africans in South Africa. I do not actually come here to represent the Attorney General. The views I air here would be my personal views about this as a professional in that field. Now, I will step back a little bit and look at the foreign policy objective of Nigeria. If you look at Section 19 of the Constitution, it talks clearly about the foreign policy objective of this country. And that has been the trend for over 50 years, looking Afrocentric. You know, if you look at that section, first of all, it talks about the national interest. And then it talks about the promotion and integration of African unity. And that is the reason why Nigeria has taken on its shoulders, on her shoulders, the burden of Africa over the years to ensure that Africa is integrated. If you go back historically, you see what Nigeria has done from the days of apartheid in South Africa and other African countries where Nigeria had to put the boots of their soldiers on the ground and then to put their resources to fight wars that were not meant for Nigeria to be able to unite Africa and bring about peace. Apart from that, Nigeria as well as South Africa have signed several international conventions and agreements, which they are bound by the provisions of those agreements to act in a particular way to maintain peace. These two countries are members of the UN Charter, and the essence of that is to be able to bring about peace in the world. That's the major thing that the UN stands for. Now, these two countries have to do everything to be able to ensure that there is peace, not only within their territories, but within African states. And I think Nigeria has, over the years, demonstrated that attitude to maintain peace. And that is why, in the face of these burning issues, Nigeria is always ready to go to the negotiating table to talk to South Africa to see how these things can be resolved.
But do you understand why our citizens are not buying into this right now? They are saying, no, enough of the peace talks. It's not working. Let's take to the streets to demand justice for our people. Obviously, at the weekend show, we do not condone violence. We do not promote it. We completely condemn those who went out and, broke into the shops of their fellow citizens in reprisal to the South Africans. I don't know how that works. But we completely condemn it. But in your opinion, do you understand why Nigerians are so angry and they feel like the Nigerian government isn't doing enough? You know, yes, it's good to have these peace talks. It's good to come to the table and see how we can negotiate our way out of this continuous attacks on our citizens. But what more can we do? What more can the Nigerian government do to show the citizens that it's serious, about the welfare and the livelihood of every Nigerian at home and abroad?
Yeah, you can see that already the Nigerian government has taken, much deeper steps this time around to deal with this situation. You see, yesterday the Minister of Foreign Affairs said enough is enough. That's a very strong word. Enough is enough. And you can see how the Nigerian government has gone in, even trying to recall the High Commissioner in South Africa back to Nigeria. But all of this will end up on the negotiating table. It's not about violence. There is no place for retaliation in international, in diplomatic relations of countries. Even though other countries can use that as citizens of Nigeria, they are free to do that. It is not allowed, but it can happen, just as it has happened now. But that does not mean that it's a solution to the problem. No, it's not a solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is what the government is doing, trying to negotiate this at this time and put an end to it. And I know that the president is ready to do that now from the actions that he has taken so far.
Interesting. I'll bring Honorable Namdas in before Emmanuel. The Vice President was on TV saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has said enough is enough. The Foreign Affairs Ministry exists. There's the Presidency, and there's also the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. And so we can't say we lack people to get this done, but what we've learned is that it's always been reactionary. We wait for this to happen. What is the National Assembly, beyond putting out strong statements, what are they doing to actually prevent this from happening, protect their citizens in a way that it's also guarded by the Constitution? Because the National Assembly has a role to play. What conversations is the National Assembly having with the Presidency at this point to ensure that we're going beyond strong statements to protecting the lives of citizens?
Well, I think that was addressed yesterday by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Emmanuel, when he said that he also mentioned this enough is enough. We cannot continue to repatriate dead bodies back to Nigeria. But I think one thing is clear. Before you take actions, I think I would challenge certain ministries and agencies. I think we have problem with data. We should first and foremost know how many South Africans in the first place are even living legally in Nigeria. It is important to know that. It is important to also know the kind of businesses interest that South Africa has in Nigeria. Now, because if you're going to take steps, you can only take steps when you have the data. These kind of reprisal attacks are just spontaneous because people are getting angry and what have you. I will tell you on record that we have close to 2.3 million immigrants living in South Africa, out of which 1.6 million are Africans, meaning 700,000 are not Africans. And if you go to South Africa, I've been there 4 times in a year for the last 4 years. That means 16 times I've been in South Africa. So Africans that people, other South Africans are pursuing, control 0.0001% of the economy, meaning they only have barber shops, at worst they have vehicles that they sell and what have you. But the main economy is controlled by the minority whites, and it's about 85%. So if even the South African talks to you that, look, this guy is taking over my job, what job am I taking over? I'm not a CEO. You just go there, just create. So now if we want to take actions here, let's also take census of the kind of businesses South Africans have. Because by the time we take action, and these are what we are going to do, we invite certain relevant agencies to know this data. By the time we know the data, then that is when we inform us to take a proactive decision. I think sometimes we make pronouncements without even really knowing what the action we take. If you take one policy statement against South Africa, it will pain them more than just burning in a shop or somebody entering a shop, picking a Coke to run away with it, taking pure water, run with it. I think it's unfortunate. We should not be talking about this kind of thing. We should move beyond it. Thank you.
Emmanuel, let me bring you in here. Honorable just made a very good point, and I'm happy that the National Assembly for once is actually thinking through the process, thinking through the solution, gathering data to solve this issue. So as a journalist, because right here we're sitting down, we're the gatekeepers of democracy, what do you think the solution for we who hold such a sensitive position, in terms of our national unity, what do you think the solution is for journalists? How do we ensure that we keep this national cohesion, protect our citizens abroad, and also encourage the government to be accountable to its citizens? citizens, both the executive and the legislative, and even the judiciary arm of government?
Well, first of all, government response has been not encouraging. We've had very desperate voices. The APC is giving us its version, what should be done. The House of Representatives is telling us what should be done. The federal government itself is telling us what should be done. I think for a government that is serious, there should be a common position. Because, for instance, the APC says we should start indigenization process of nationalizing all South African businesses. And the House of Reps is saying enough is enough, which is also echoed by the executive. What the government ought to have done, first of all, is when we recalled our envoy from South Africa, we should have sent the South African envoy packing. When the US and Russia had issues as to how many diplomats were in each other country and the fallout of the 2016 election, what happened? Diplomats were expelled on both sides. That is mutual deterrence. We are not seeing it. Now we have an envoy that has gone to South Africa. What are his terms of reference? We need to understand what he's going there to do. Will he achieve the mission, the objective of which government has sent him there? Now you're talking about national cohesion. I was part of those that protested, that went to the South African High Commission. And our message is clear, that we ought not to take to violence. We must demonstrate that we are far above the South Africans by our conduct. That was why we went on a peaceful protest. What we're telling Nigerians is that the media will continue to highlight the failings of government to hold people accountable. Because what is happening in South Africa is a reflection of the contempt which government holds Nigerians. I have seen tweets from South Africans saying, after all, in your country, how has your government protected you? And when foreigners begin to raise questions as to the commitment of your government, of a government to its citizens, the tendency is that you will face same abroad. So government should begin. You expel the South African envoy, and you tell Nigerians in clear terms, what are the terms of reference the envoy, the special envoy of the president that has gone to South Africa? Because when there is clarity as to what the objective and mission is, Nigerians will not take to the street. They will believe that government is committed in protecting them wherever they are. But as media professionals, we will continue to highlight what the South African government has done against our people. We will continue to appeal that violence does not in any way engender peace, that people must hold government accountable, and that government should demonstrate that it is willing and ready and able to defend us as Nigerians.
That's a fine place to leave it, Emmanuel. Mr. Pius, I would give you just 30 seconds to give us your final thoughts on the subject matter.
Well, my final thoughts on this matter is that xenophobia itself is not just about, killings of people in a foreign land. It is actually fear or hate for someone or something foreign or strange. It can happen anywhere. So even in Nigeria here, if you have been to South African Embassy, High Commission, which I have been to in the recent past, I know that even right here in Nigeria, the South Africans do not live well with us. I have cases, like my own personal experience with them, but I have 30 seconds, I can share it. But now, someone that I know also has submitted her visa application to the South African High Commission in March this year. As I speak, her passport is not given back to her. That's also very strange. And these are issues that we can look at holistically, not being reactionary about what has happened in South Africa.
Exactly. So the government has a key role to play. We as citizens have a key role to play. The way we even conduct ourselves as Nigerians is very important to how we are treated both at home and abroad. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts with us. The conversation continues on our social media pages at Weekend Show NG on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, more on The Weekend Show. Don't go anywhere. Back. We have two special guests signing off the program with us today. Andy?
So, it's back to school season and children and students are going back to school. And so we have a special guest, Uzuri. How was your summer?
It was fun.
What are you looking forward to going back to school this new session?
Friends and
To see your friends and what?
dual in school.
Good. I like that duel in school part.
That's good.
So to all the kids out there who will be going back to school, remember at the Weekend Show, we're cheering you on. Study hard. I tell all the children around me, my nieces, my nephews, that when they do well, there's always a reward for them. So if you're watching, make sure you do well in school, and I'm sure your parents will reward your effort. Helping us to sign out today, we have a special guest that we had last weekend. Her voice is simply amazing. Take it away.
Thank you. Streams of life flow like a river. The ones you face, next you know you faced another. The highs, the lows, the ups and downs, the deep and wide, the shallow times, you'll find it. And yes, you'll find me. 'Cause I'm the one creator of the universe, redeemer and your friend. Yes, I am. Tell me all the things that wear you down. I'll show you the colors of love. Tell me all the things that wear you down.